letters that the code is.
Only letters. I haven't had one yet that had numbers in it. All right, so we're on Nearpod again. I want to make sure that you guys get a little chance to actually have some hands-on practice with some of the stuff we've been doing the last couple days. So I think hopefully this will make sense to you, and we'll get into it, and I'll check some of your guys' answers today. Again, the section we're in section 7.2. So you can probably see that from the first screen, correct?
Can you see what our names are on your computer?
Yes, it will show up. So make sure they're school appropriate.
Okay, I bet you can't guess what mine is.
Cutting wood?
No. What?
Alright. So, is everyone in? I think everyone's got logged in, correct?
Probably.
Okay. You guys are all logged in, correct? Excellent. Alright. So on 7.2, what we were talking about was, we were talking about angles and angle measure. Angles and angle measure. Okay, and we were talking about the different types of angles, how to draw them. That's what we're going to look at today. But again, we're using Nearpod to help us out with this today, so that you can actually draw, and I want to see what some of your answers are today. So nearpod.com. Okay, and that's your code right there. Like DME QW. Okay. And if that, like, you get kicked out, I'll give you a different code and whatnot. Get logged back in. But anyway, we're going to be talking about today, we're going to do some examples where we actually talk about the definition of an angle. We'll talk about how to name angles, and the big thing is called notation. It's how you write your answers. That's the thing. Like, if you write your answer incorrectly, I'll count it wrong, okay? We're going to be drawing a lot today, and talking about the classifications today.
Drawing.
Yep, drawing. So, and at some point today, you guys are going to be able to click through it and kind of enter your own answers on certain problems like we did yesterday. But I want to.
We were just testing out the clicky through.
Yep. Yep. So you guys are able to click through and kind of enter some answers. It's kind of a cool concept. We're going to use it today.
Click.
All right. I'll stop clicking through all the way. Make sure you're staying. Try to stay on the same page that I am until I tell you otherwise. So. All right. Okay. All right. This should be the first slide, correct? You guys are all here. If you need to click back, you can. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Let's walk through kind of the basic outline of the notes. I'll have you guys submit some answers today. I think you guys will kind of like it. Let me hit the lights here so it's a little bit easier to see.
Lights, camera, action.
There we go. Okay. All right. On this particular problem, right? What we've been talking about is the actual names of angles. So if you want to click to the next slide here on yours, I think you can actually click. You can hit the arrows, I think. Definition of an angle. It's formed by the intersection of two rays at a common endpoint. What we talked about yesterday is how to draw angles. The big thing was calling the words by their correct names, right? We had vertex, we had initial, terminal sides, we had all those things. The big thing was notation and how you name angles. This is something I was looking at yesterday. When you name an angle like this, whatever these angles are, this is how we were drawing it yesterday, we're going to talk about that today. When you're naming an angle, you can use the letters that are actually on this angle. You can either call it like angle Y, you can call it angle XYZ. But what has
XYZ, that's
alphabetical order?
I know Pokemon movie.
Alright.
On Netflix. XYZ.
Alright. Or you could name it the ZYX. The big thing about that is that what has to be the middle letter.
Zits.
Yep. What has to be the middle letter?
Sounds like 6.
What has to be the middle letter?
Y.
Yeah, the letter Y.
NYX.
This
Ingredients and Nix.
this is the big concept. The vertex, that middle letter, is the most important. This is actually where the angle sits. This is what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at measuring objects. Okay? We're going to be naming angles. The big thing is drawing it in what we call standard position. Standard position is something we're going to look at the next slide. Are we good with how to name angles today if I ask you to submit answers?
Yes.
Okay, this is the concept, that's what I want, those options right there.
And
Alright.
you have to write the letters how you have all 3 different ways of writing them.
No, you just have to pick one that you're really good with. The top one will eventually go away, we won't use the top one anymore. The reason being is that our pictures eventually, not today, but tomorrow and Monday, they'll be more complicated, there'll be more angles and stuff, so you're gonna have to use 3 letter systems. So always the middle letter is where the angle sits, and then you just use the other walls to help you out. So what I do is I use the letters to like spell how the angle looks. X, Y, Z. I start from the middle, go to the end. Okay. All right, we're good though? Okay, click to your next slide. We're going to be drawing angles in what we call standard position.
Acute.
Okay. So if you're clicking to that next slide, you should be on what? Naming the angle. We talked about that one yesterday, correct? Is that the one that appeared for you guys? Naming the angle.
It's an acute angle.
But I want to be in standard position. I want to be on this slide.
Okay.
So, you had to skip one question. We're good?
I just picked it up.
Okay. Standard position. 2 rays. The first ray is called the initial side. That's on the x-axis. Vertex is on the origin. Terminal is on the whatever side you end with. Here's the big thing. We use the coordinate plane. This is the picture I have. So, like Connor, this is the picture that I handed to you earlier with all the graphs. You need to hold that piece of paper. So, gentlemen, if you want to take out your graph paper, you need to hold the paper in such a way that X is on the right side, Y is at the top. Okay, so Y is at the top, X is over here. When we draw angles, this is how I want to see it. You're going to put a dot right here on the origin.
Yeah,
You're going to draw the first line going horizontal towards the X.
already done.
And then you're going to open up, and you're going to draw angles like that, where you open up counterclockwise, and then you put the final wall coming off of that same dot. That's how you draw angles. That's a pretty big angle right there. The goal today is to draw angles in the correct positions.
Already.
Okay, are we good with how you can draw angles so that everyone looks the same?
Yep.
The big thing I require is that your first wall, this wall right here, has to be horizontal to you. Has to go to the right towards the X. Even if that grid wasn't there, like if I did this and I got rid of the grid, you'd still be drawing the angle the same way. That's what I want to see from now on.
That's kind of cool how this weird.
We're good with that?
Yep.
All right.
Maybe.
But the big thing is x-axis is where the initial side is going to be drawn along. So the x-axis here. The y-axis is going up and down. Then we have the origin, which is where the dot sits. It's right at the middle of the crosshair. Okay. Quadrants. We talked about this yesterday. The quadrant system. There's 4 quadrants. Quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, and quadrant number 4. And they're in Roman numerals going counterclockwise. Are we good so far?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes,
All right, good. So let's go to the next one. So next slide over, it should be talking about angles themselves.
I don't have a pencil.
So, talking about angles themselves. Okay, we talked about acute angles. They're angles that are less than 90. Okay, angles that are less than 90. Rights are exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse are angles that are larger than 90. Straight is a straight line. Reflex when you go past straight. Okay, you go past 180. The goal today is to draw and measure. The problem is we finished, I believe this is the last slide we did yesterday, correct? I believe it was the last slide. We have one more slide that I want to talk about, and it's called angle measure. Okay? So I don't know which one we're at. Okay, so I believe it was this one. So this is the last slide, right? This is what we ended with.
Yeah.
All right, on your Nearpod, I want you to click to the next slide, and I would like to see what your answer is on the next one. It wants to know what classification is the angle that they provided you. Okay, so they're going to give you a picture of an angle. I want to know which one of these 4 words is it, or actually 5 words is it. Now, you don't need to hit submit. I want you to write your answer on the screen, and I'm going to walk around and check. Now, how you know? If it's acute, that means it's small. If it's right, it's straight up and down. If it's obtuse, it's past that, it's big. straight line, and reflex is past straight. These are all the pictures that you should be looking for. Something like this.
Why can't we submit it?
Because I want to see it. I'm going to walk around.
Okay, that's a little big.
And the reflex is like that.
I can change that.
Sure. I-S-O-N.
Okay, I want to walk around. I want to see what classification that thing is. I want you to write your answer on it.
I'm still writing it.
Okay, good. That's fine.
Here you go.
Nice. All right, click to the next one. The next one.
He's got the same idea as me.
Yeah. All right, I'm just going to wait till he's done. He's doing pretty good. All right, good. Click next. So the next one, same idea. Let's write down what our angles are. Classify. Okay, I have pictures on the board to figure out what types they are. If you want to know, if you want to look up there.
That did not taste good at all.
So I want you to classify it.
So technically, almost like naming it again.
Mm-hmm. Name what type it is.
Hey,
What if I told you guys were wrong?
Oh.
Did we all get obtuse?
And they're all wrong.
Yes.
They're all wrong. Why? Why are they wrong?
Good question. Why?
Okay, we did a cube. Cube's small, right?
Yes.
You guys all picked obtuse, past 90 degrees. 90 degrees is straight up and down, right? It's the most common mistake. When I turn the picture, it looks deceiving. It's the human eye. This is a 90-degree angle, right? That's a right angle.
Oh, when it's past that,
If you're past that, like
it's still counted as
this,
a straight.
that's obtuse. It's when you go past 90 degrees. The problem is your picture you're looking at is not past 90, right? This is 90. Your picture isn't even past it. It's like this. This is the angle that you guys are looking at. It's small.
It's just a little more over near that one other
Yeah.
one, but it's
It's close, but it's not past it, right? Now, here's the thing. Why I did this? It's very hard to tell, right? Which
It's
type
right.
it is.
I changed my answer to right.
I don't know if it's a right.
No, straight.
It's not straight. It's not a straight line.
I'm confused now.
Straight is a straight line.
here, or.
Yep.
Submit.
Oh.
It's not right. It's not 90 degrees. It's close.
Submit.
Right angle. So if you hold this,
It's in a cube.
yeah, because right would be here, and we're too short. So you're actually right. Would be cute, right? All right. So now you guys get the idea. Like, why I picked that picture? Because that picture was deceiving. It almost looked right, and it was hard to tell. So now that you guys got kind of a handle on this, I want to go to the next slide. I want to go to this slide right here, where it says angle measure. Okay? It should say what? Protractor on the screen. Does it say protractor on your screen when you click to the next slide?
Protractor.
Yeah.
Okay. This word protractor is what you guys needed on the last problem.
Geometric.
Okay, yeah, it's a geometric figure tool that we use to measure angles, to actually give it a value. Okay? We're going to do a couple examples here of how to do this. Now, you guys have never seen one before in this class. This is a protractor. This is your protractor you get to keep. Don't get it wet, they scratch off. Now, if the numbers are backwards to you, flip it over. Because you have it round the other way, the numbers will look backwards. So you just flip it over. Okay? Alright, now why did I make this see-through? Is because if they have drawings in your book,
Computer screen.
yeah, you can put it on your computer screen and actually measure angles, which is really kind of cool. Now, the problem is most people don't know how to use this.
Wait.
That's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how to actually measure with that object. Here's how you do it. In fact, here's how I'd like to do it. So, if there's an angle on your screen like this, let's say this is your angle that's on the screen, okay? Here's what you do. You're going to put your picture so that the dot that's in the middle of the actual is actually on their dot. So the vertex is right on top. The next thing, you're gonna line up one of the walls with one of the lines. So what do I mean by that? The bottom, the bottom of that
I did it.
actual protractor, you line it up, and
Figure out the
then
next
you always count up. Now, do you notice that there's two tracks of numbers, correct? So,
120 and 60.
there's big numbers and small numbers, right?
Yeah.
When you start, so I'm gonna use a big one so you guys can see this, okay? So I'm gonna place this right on top of where the mark is. Now I have an arrow, you guys have a dot. And I'm gonna line up one of the walls. You're gonna start with the inside track using 0. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and you're gonna tell me the number that you hit. If you go past that number, you're counting up. If it's below it, it's counting down from there. So is it 60 on that one? So when you place it, yeah, perfect, 60 degrees. So perfect. Okay, on that one, 60, okay, good. So yeah, so you start with 0 and you count up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's 60 degrees almost exactly.
No, it's not.
Okay, makes sense? That's why I gave you the clear see-through, so you can actually put it on your computer screen and measure. I like to go to the next picture, try to measure it, but don't say the answer out loud, and actually write it down like on the screen.
Okay.
Okay? So I want you to measure it. So you guys have already went one picture in.
No.
So now we're on to the next picture. So you have to measure the angle, and once you have it measured, then you have to tell me what type it is, what classification the angle is. Now, if you want to know the classifications again, the names. So you have to put the number down. Once you have the number written down, then you can tell me the classification, because these are the words I'm looking for. These. So when you measure it and you find your number, let's say you measured your angle and it turned out to be 140 degrees, let's say. I'm making this up. Let's say you measured it, you put your protractor down and the protractor was here, right? And it said, 140 right here because you counted up 0 up all the way to 140. So this is a 140 degree angle, right, on your protractor, okay? Because remember, you always have to line it up with one of the walls and count up till you hit the wall. If it's 140, that's this. You're between 90 and 180.
You want us to submit it?
No, I just want to walk around, I want to see it. You don't need to submit today. So.
I accidentally
Now
submitted
you can
on
see your picture.
one.
Sounds about right. So, just want to see that one bit correctly. You're a little bit off. It's a couple marks past it.
Oh.
So if you line up and you're really, so maybe it's like 2 marks past. So you want to be really exact.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, see, we're being super exact. And we got an 16. Okay, good. So, all right, good. Go to the next picture. I think you're good. Go to the next one. You're good. Go to the next one. Okay, same thing. Now this picture that you have 2 different ones. You have 2 different pictures. You can see them, right? There's the small angle. There's the big angle. Measure both. I want to see both.
Okay.
All right.
180.
So now you have 2 different pictures. You have this small one, and you have this big angle. I want to know both.
180, 120.
So you line it up, 0 up to 120 and 121. You're just past 120. You have the first hash mark. Does that make sense? You gotta be like super exact. So you gotta do like the little hash marks. So 121. Now, what type is that? Fuse, ray, or cube?
Handbook. Linux 180, and then the other number is.
Okay, so if you line up 0, count up. What is that number?
That's mostly between 60 and 50.
How'd you make these in the first place?
I just printed on a clear plastic piece of paper.
This is paper.
So 55, yeah, sure. And then this one over here is you count up. So now you're using the inside track of 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 90, 120, 125. Did you use the inside track? Yeah. Does that make sense? Like you're using that's why they have 2 sets of numbers. So you can count up whatever side the angle is drawn on. You always start with 0, count up to that marker. Does that make sense?
What do you want us to do here?
Okay. All right, on this one, I want you to draw an obtuse angle, any obtuse angle that you want. So you just have to make sure your obtuse is greater than 90, less than 180.
So that's the next one.
So what I would do, yeah, I would put my protractor like on the screen like that, like hold it there, and then draw an angle like whatever you need to do, so that it makes an angle of a certain
So it
size.
doesn't matter what we do.
Yeah. So just hold it there and then draw with your thing. You need to draw an obtuse angle at the line first. You have to draw obtuse. So you got to draw an angle that's less than 90 or greater than 90, less than 180. So you know where the first line needs to be.
Alright.
First line goes here, and then you need to open up and stop at a number that's between 90 and 180, and then draw that one.
So,
Yep. And then one goes that way because you need to be between 90 and 180.
truck.
Okay. So okay. So now what you're gonna do on this one?
Greater than 180?
You're
Or
gonna
less
measure
than
this and
180?
start at 0, and then count up, and you're gonna use on this angle. You're gonna use the outside track.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
What number is that roughly?
57.
Yeah, sure, right, 57. So that angle's 57, and then when you go to the other angle, this angle over
greater
here,
than 90.
you're gonna start with
Less
the
than
inside
80.
track, 0, 10, 20, and you count up, because that angle's a lot bigger over here. Does that make sense? Okay, good. What type of angle is that?
Obtuse?
Yeah, obtuse, and what was your measure roughly? If you had to measure that one. What? Count, so this is 0, count up. 90, 100, 110,
That's
120, 120, 130 or so, what do you think?
1.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Makes sense?
Yep.
Go to the next one. Nice, okay, so what's the measure of your angle then? Okay, if you start with 0,
Cube.
count up,
So there's one circle thing right here. It's gonna
Yep,
go.
yep.
So right
right to there, and what's that angle? It's gonna be big, right?
there. Right. So I'll say,
Hold up, what's the number here? What are we roughly in between?
or
No, 55 is doing small. We're starting with 0, you're using the inside track. You're making it big.
130 or 135.
125. Because you're counting up 20, and then you're not quite to 130. Make sense?
Done.
Cute, good. Do you measure it?
Less than 90?
So, sound good? Yeah? So what was your angle? Yeah, good. Move on to the next one.
Okay.
Or
Good. You got the other one measured?
55?
Uh-huh.
45.
So we're using the inside track. We're counting up from 0 up.
What now?
You boring.
Draw a right? That's easy.
What, me?
You just go downhill on the black lines.
I don't understand, I don't know what this is.
So down and up.
125.
Yeah,
Like,
125.
Over, up.
Make sense?
Oh, that does make sense.
There we go. Good, nice. Nice step of camera.
Ooh, I like that black. It's kind of cool.